where is our country and what are we doing? Now, if you look at the economic analysis of our country into the three sectors, the primary sector, the secondary sector, and the tertiary sector, you need to know some facts. The primary sector is the inputs sector to the economy, which is the agriculture, fisheries, dairy, horticulture, mining, minerals, etc. That constitutes the inputs to the economy. So it's an input process output model, the systems model. Secondary sector is the manufacturing and processing sector, which is capital goods manufacturing and consumer goods manufacturing. Capital goods are those goods which you use to make other goods. Machinery, maybe electrical equipment, mechanical and instruments, large control systems, all these come under capital goods. Transportation equipment also. Consumer goods, all of us know, mobile phones, watches, laptops, footwear, clothes, all these things are consumer goods. Of course, you also divide this into discrete and continuous. One part you will lose, but it's all right. Okay. Can you check on the? Yeah, that's better. That's all. See if you can reduce the size also. Yeah. No, this is fine. Very good. It's very good. Yeah. Fine. I think everybody can see it. We'll come to this. We'll come to this. Maybe to take some time and then we'll come to this. So, we also divide goods into the manufacturing and processing into continuous manufacturing and discrete manufacturing. Textiles, steel, cement, chemicals, they are all continuous manufacturing. In the sense that when you start the plant, you cannot shut down and you cannot run the plant. It has to be continuously on. So the only time these plants shut down is annual maintenance. So 1 week they shut down the whole plant, new complete maintenance, start again. So it's called continuous manufacturing. Discrete manufacturing is what you see in large machine shops, where I can actually shut down a machine but still the production can continue without any problem. Okay. So discrete manufacturing is manufacturing of discrete goods, whatever we have. Then the tertiary sector is where you come in. Basically we talk of education, healthcare, information technology enabled services, IT and ITES, banking, financial services, insurance, tourism, travel, administrative support, all these things come under the tertiary sector. Okay, the services sector. So primarily agriculture, manufacturing, services. Now where is our country? Something you must understand that young people, and I'm sure most of you are about 20 plus. I hope I'm not making a mistake. It's a very important point. Your age is now 20 plus. Am I right or am I wrong? If you look at a retirement age of 60, that is provided you're working somewhere, you're not an entrepreneur. Because if you are going to have your own business, there's nothing called retirement age. I hope you got it. You just work till you feel like it. In fact, my father worked in a private company. Must be a record of sorts. He joined the company when he was at the age of 20. He finished his studies. In those days, BA Mathematics in Loyola College, Chennai. He joined this company at the age of 20. And when he was 72, he told his close friend who was his boss, over this time, 52 years, they became very, very close friends. So he told his boss, enough, now my body is not taking me. So he worked in the same company for 52 years. Okay. But he'll come to you. I mean, that doesn't happen nowadays. It's okay. See, I think loyalty should be to the country. Loyalty to a company, to a friend, to family is very, to a community is fine. There's nothing wrong. Certainly not. Okay. But loyalty should be to the world and the country. Okay. So if you look at the retirement age of 60, please understand, you can wash away the first 12 too. Am I right? Because that's your childhood. Still a child. You know. Maybe just now getting into teenage. That's the time you start appreciating the world and so on. Even if you look at your own life, if I look back at my life, I can tell you that my beginning to interact with the world around in a different way, trying to understand, happened only when I was 15, 16. But still, let me assume that you became a little better at 12. So look at only 8 years of life when you are interacting with the world in a different way. First 12 years is enjoyment as a child. I think all of us like to go back to that state, no responsibility, somebody else takes care of us. At least in good families, I'm saying, not in very poor families, it's a sad story. Because even today we were witness to a case of a very small boy working in a tea shop. What do you do? People have to survive. I'm sure none of us likes child labor. None of us wants child labor. But what do you do? Ultimately, between child labor and survival is more important. You know? So I say, okay, I tolerate it because the person has to survive. That's what happens. So you're looking at such a long life ahead of you. Yeah, your birth. Therefore, it is important for you to understand the state of the country. When I explain to you, I'm very confident you will agree with what I am saying. And I'm also upfront telling you, I'm going to share what content there is because of two things. One, my generation of people who are born soon after independence have actually let down this country very badly. That is why our country is in the shape it is in. And unfortunately what happens is many of us look at the country in terms of our lens and we need to widen that perspective. It's very, very important. And you will appreciate when I share information to you, oh my God, this is the thing. So you have to widen your perspective. And because we look at it from our circumstance, in systems thinking, the course which I teach, I use a concept called window of perception. All of us look at the world with our window of perception and believe that is the window. Not true. Okay? Not true. It is partially true. Your window of perception is certainly true, but it's not the full truth, it's not the complete truth. So you have to look at it in a wider lens. That's the reason I'm sharing. Now, where do we stand? So your generation, which has been born well after the independence, perhaps, all of you were born after 1990. So the reason I'm saying 1991 marks a historical economic shift in the philosophy of our country. All of you know that. The LPG era, liberalization, privatization, globalization. So your children offer different philosophical, foundation, not unlike me. So I have great hope that young people like you will realize the situation and will work very smartly. And that's what I'm going to share. So this is where. Now if you take the agricultural sector, I'm cutting a long story short. I'm not going to go into details. I must thank Balraju for a lot of the data that he fed me with in a different context. We're just trying to understand. After that, I've been collecting a lot of data, trying to understand. And I find that not many people write about this. India is among the finest producers of agricultural products in the world. Okay, our rank is in the top 5 in almost any agricultural product you can think of. Cereals, pulses, fruits, vegetables, milk, etc. I'm talking of raw product. I'm not talking of value added product. I'm not talking of cheese, which comes out of milk. Do you understand? Or butter, which comes out of milk. I'm talking about raw milk. So you're not talking of value added products in grains, pulses, cereals, etc. You're talking of the raw production. India's rank for many years has been in the top 5 in the world. It's a very important point. And I keep saying in milk we have been the top number 1 for many years. Number 1, number 2 for many years. Fruits and vegetables in the top 3. Top 3. Now this is very good, we can all feel proud that we are a country with plenty of food production. Good. On the flip side, this is where many people, young people like you should know, because this is a challenge. If you look at the World Hunger Index, we are among the worst countries in the world. Now as young people, you should ask the question immediately, does it make sense? It doesn't make sense that you are among the best producers of food and you are among the worst consumers of food. You see, there's a truth actually. If you look at the World Hunger Index, we are at the bottom. We are not the worst, but we are definitely in the bottom. Perhaps in the last quartile, Q4. Okay, very bad situation. Q1 rather, not Q4. Q4 will be ISI. So this is point number one. Hunger, which is hunger relates to quantity of food that you take. Now let's come to quality of food that you take. We are among the really bad countries in terms of malnutrition. So which means you are not only consuming less, even what you are consuming is not of good quality. Now this is a dangerous situation. So we are very bad in terms of hunger, we are worse in terms of malnutrition. I'm sure many of you did not know this. Now this is an area, now I want you to understand why you should use a different perspective. Now you can understand. You cannot use your old lens anymore. There needs to be greater binding and integration in our country to solve this kind of a problem. You cannot expect, please let us understand, poor people do not have the wherewithal or the capability. They are hopeless. They don't have hope. By the way, I am not a communist, please. I know communism has already failed miserably. It may come again 100 years later, I don't know. We don't know, world goes in cycles, so let's not talk about that. As of today, the evidence is it's not working. Because the reason is fundamental reason is human beings like to differentiate. You don't want to be equal on all counts, right? It's a fact. It's an observable fact. In your class, everybody wants to be equal. No. You want to have equality in certain contexts. So, for example, when food is served in the mess, you want equal access to food. But you don't consume equally. You only want equal access to food. You don't want a situation where somebody is denied something. That are you understanding? So we are talking of two very important philosophical ideas of equality and equity. So you want equality of access to food and equity in consumption of food. So I am telling you this because poor people in our country, and I want you to know this is defined by the United Nations and by India also. United Nations defines extreme poverty and people under extreme poverty as those who earn $1 or less per day. Today $1 is about 67, 68, maybe nearly 70. Nearly 70, approximately. Now, I think all of you know today, in the kind of world we are in, look around and tell me, is it feasible for somebody to earn about 70 rupees a day and survive reasonably well? It's actually reasonable. It's very reasonable. So you're looking at somebody who's earning, even if you take 70 rupees, 2,100 per month, am I right, into 12? So it's about 24,000 a month, am I right? 24,000 a month. Into 12, 24,000 a year. So this is the situation here. 24,000 rupees salary per year. You want the person to survive. And I want you to know basic statistics because these are government figures. More than 300 million fellow citizens are under extreme poverty. Please understand this. And this is by the definition of our planning commission, which is worse. I'm not even going to United Nations definition. It's a fact which all of you should know as young people because I want you to change your perspective. I want to change your heart. Your heart will change when I share with you. There's no way because I'm sure all of us are decent people. We're not indecent people, we're not insensitive people. I agree, all of us have self-centerism. Everybody. You're human, there is some self-centerism. But the point is we also want to integrate with others. It's a fact. It's an observable fact. You don't need scientific proof for that. Indian Planning Commission definition is, you know, some of you will know, In rural India, extreme poverty is defined as anybody who earns approximately 27 rupees or less per day. And in urban India, approximately 33 rupees or less per day. So let's keep the middle 30 rupees. Now if you take 30 rupees and approximately, let's say 1,000 rupees a month, therefore 12,000 rupees, which is half. You're not even talking of 24,000 per year, you're talking of 12,000 per year, extreme poverty. According to our data, 300 million approximately people are below extreme poverty. Not even talking of 70 rupees, we're talking of 50 rupees. You can imagine 70 rupees. Okay. We talk of 1/4 of our population. India is now 1.25, 1.27 billion. This is the situation of our country. Hunger, malnutrition, widespread. It's a very, very difficult situation here. And I have hope that your generation can actually change this. And believe me, you are in a very bright area, probably the highest potential, because of brief insight. Tourism and travel are going to be a savior for you. So you're a part of that sector. I'm serious. It's going to be a savior. Provided many things happen which you make them happen. Which you can make them happen. You can. And you should make them happen for your good, for your family's good, for the good of our communities and all our people. That is why I'm saying this. So you have to work with a different perspective. This is just the first primary sector. Okay? I'm not going into details, further details. You can go and it's all over the top. If you go into the details of food production, storage, distribution, consumption and wastage in India, it is nothing but a horror story on a macroeconomic scale. And I would